Are you perhaps not back by an event and it's really getting to you, or a situation or a person, and mentally it's really impacted you and emotionally? Well, today I'm going to talk about creating more power in your life and how you can do this. And if you stay until the end, I have a final special tip for you then as well. Before we begin, just want to mention that if you want to connect with me more, you can find me on social media and my links are in the show notes below. Just type in Johnny Pardo as well into your social media. So I've had some tough situations, very tough situations the last 2 years. And admittedly, at times, I put in the wrong meanings to things. When I say the wrong meanings, there is no right and wrong meaning. I guess it's the meaning you put on it, right? I would say it's I put in meanings that didn't make me feel my best. So I was reading Man's Search for Meaning the other day, and actually I'm going to read a bit today as well. And also I'm learning from one of my mentors, Peter Sage, great teacher, and he's got a book called The Inside Track about him going to prison. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about both these books. I'll kind of I'll continue with what I said about Peter Sage's book, The Inside Track. He gets sent to prison very harshly, a court dispute that doesn't go his way or go the right way, and we won't go into all of that. Anyway, he ends up in prison for 6 months, and in kind of an intense prison as well, even though it was just a business deal gone wrong, basically. And as a result, he's done all this work on himself, so he goes into prison excited to impact lives. That's the meaning he puts in it, and that's, wow, how many of us would go, I know I would go terrified into prison. There's a book, Man's Search for Meaning. Definitely recommend this one. It's not a long book. It's quite a quick book to read by Viktor Frankl. And it's about some of the worst events during the Holocaust. He's in a horrible, horrible prison, and people around him are dying, suffering. And he decides he's not going to suffer. He decides he's going to put a meaning to life. He decides that there's something to live for. And that's, wow, that's an inspirational story. If he can go through all the pain, the torture that he was going through. And I started reflecting in my own life. When I feel good about things, I'm usually putting a good meaning. Now, sometimes things go my way, right? And I'm going to put a good meaning around it. Other times, when something has gone wrong, I put a bad meaning around it, right? And even sometimes a small thing, I've blown things out of proportion when I've been in a bad place and put a real extreme meaning around it. And as human beings, I realize we're meaning making machines. We make meaning out of everything. The problem is, as with my last episode, we unconsciously choose a lot of things and we're not even aware, and it doesn't necessarily serve our emotions. And maybe you've been guilty of this as well, like something didn't go wrong. And I know for me, it's like when it didn't work out, perhaps in dating or relationship, and the past, the meaning would be, well, she didn't like me. Like sometimes, I decided it wasn't the right move. Sometimes the girl might have decided, but like maybe if I was like dumped or like it didn't work out, I would have put the meaning around it. Like, she's going to find someone better. I'm not worthy as a man. Now that's not a very good thing to hold in your head. Maybe you can relate, right? The problem is, like, we have these experiences, these traumas I found, all these things like in childhood and experiences. And then we start creating meanings out of things. When I've consciously chose to redirect the meaning and I've picked up on it, it's made a big difference. I went through a stage where I just wasn't getting a job on a professional example. And the meaning I made out of it was, I'm not valued, people don't like me, I'm never going to get a job, I'm stupid, right? That's not a good meaning. How's that? My mental health was not good. I was really down from these examples, right? So we're always meaning making machines. And of course it's going to be tougher other times than others, right? If someone's just like walked out on you or cheated on you or someone's fired you, a business has gone downhill, of course it's going to be really hard to put a good meaning around it. But just doing small things to start off with can really help. Someone cuts you off in traffic. The meaning you put is like, they disrespected me, I hate them. Everyone's an idiot around here, right? Instead of, maybe a meaning could be, they were on a rush to the hospital because someone was suffering in the back seat and they needed to save their life. Another meaning could be, well, this person's just having a really rough time at the moment and not fully concentrating. Whilst, of course, you're not condoning bad driving or anything like that. Maybe someone overtakes you in a queue in like a shop or something. Well, again, it's not about just sitting back doing nothing, but maybe the meaning you're putting is you're disrespected and people just don't value you. That's not a good meaning. It's going to, and for me, I know it makes me burst out with anger instead of saying something like, oh, excuse me, I was there. And like, oh, maybe that person didn't realize that I was there. Or maybe that person is just really struggling in their own head right now, that they're just not open. I'll give you an example of something that happened earlier. It kind of links to judgment as well, and I'm just going to call this out myself. All right, I was in the shop, and there's one next door. Went in, can't remember what I bought. I think it's like a protein drink after the gym. And then there was a shoplifter. And it's actually not uncommon for that to happen in that shop. Even though I live in a great place, there's sometimes people go in and shoplift. The others, yeah, there's a mixture of places, as always, where people will do different behaviours. And this guy had stuff in his pockets, and then the security guard caught him, and one of the shop assistants caught him. And they were like, look at him, like, obviously, tell him to give the stuff back, which I totally understand. Yeah, makes sense. There's a part of me that went what an idiot. Why'd you do that? Oh, what? How bad is that? And then, because of all the work I've done on myself, although, of course, I would never say shoplifting's a good thing to do. Do not do it. I've never done it. I'm very pleased to say. It's obviously a crime. There's another part of me that went, wow, that poor man, he must really need it right now. There must be a part of him that's really struggling. Maybe he's really hurt, that maybe he's got a really tough financial situation. And even if he's doing it and like he was like doing drugs on the street or whatever, there's a part of me that's like, wow, he must be really hurting. And I send a lot of love to him. And when I do those kind of things, it creates a lot of compassion. And that's like a lot more meaning around these things, a powerful meaning. Now, that one didn't come back to me, but I find when I start doing little examples like that, I can create more empowering meanings for me. Right? I had a situation when it didn't work out with someone, and for a long time, I was really angry, and I kind of took it personally. And there were some behaviors that, I didn't feel like I was as respected as I'd like to be. But then when I started thinking what she had been through, it was like, wow. Not that I was, pleased with the behavior, but it's like, I can understand it. Instead of it being about me not being good enough, me not being lovable. So as humans, we're always meaning-making machines. So ask yourself, are you always picking the most powerful meanings yourself? So here's just a few questions you can go through from maybe something that's really bugging you, right? And it may not just be like sitting down and answering these questions. You may need to feel into it. That's why things like breath work, working with a coach or professional is really, really good when things are really intense emotionally. The first thing, ask yourself, what happened? Like, you didn't get a job, you split up with someone, one of your friends or family said something mean to you, you felt. What happened? Now, what you want to do is not put a story to this. You don't want to say words like, they treated me really badly and I'm really angry. No, you just say what actually happened in terms of the content. I was in a relation. You could say something like, I was in a relationship and now we're no longer in a relationship. That's what actually happened. Before we get into the story and emotion, it's just what happened. I had a job. I no longer have the job because I was asked to leave. I was fired. I was redundant. That's what happened. Before you get into the emotions, right? Then ask yourself, what am I making this mean? What am I making this mean? So I'll use my example. It didn't work out with a girl. It would be like, and this is probably, I'm talking about this because this has always been probably one of my most sensitive areas, like relationships and dating, admittedly. And that's the area that can really impact us emotionally, having spoke to many people, because it's that close partner. It like really brings up who, our insecurities, our wounds, all these kind of things, right? So it'd be like, what am I making this mean? I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not a real man. Those are some of the meanings I was making. Did that make me feel very good? You probably know the answer. No, of course it didn't, right? A lot of stress, anxiety, feeling down, feeling angry, right? So what are you making something mean, right? Just ask yourself, what are you making it mean? And again, it's not saying the behavior, if it is, you felt that you were treated bad, it was acceptable, right? And then ask yourself the third thing, what could it mean? And what's a more powerful meaning to bring power back to myself? So it could mean an opportunity for you to grow, could be an opportunity for you to find the right person, could be an opportunity for you to find the right job, could be, if you believe in the spiritual side, like you being guided onto something better, right? I know from some of the hardest situations I've been through emotionally, it's meant that I've grown significantly, and now I'm able to share it on 2 podcasts that are impacting people's lives. That's a great meaning. It's meant I've been able to work for my favorite influencer out there. It's meant that I've created a lot more stronger connections with people, with my friends and family. What could a challenging event mean for you? Now, I've got a final one I want to share, but before that, I want to mention again that if you want to connect with me more personally, then you can find me on social media, and I will leave that linked in the show notes below. My final point I want to share is going back to what I talked about earlier. Look at some inspirational stories. And again, it's not a case of making yourself feel guilty. So like looking at Viktor Frankl or Peter Sage, like I could look at Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning and be like, wow, this guy created meaning out of being in some of the worst human conditions possible, being almost tortured and killed and seeing people dying around him. And he created an empowering meaning that he's gonna have a better life and after this and impact loads of lives, right? And I could look at that and go, what the hell? Like, I should feel guilty for feeling bad about it not working out with someone, or someone like, say, someone being harsh to me in a sales call or whatever, right? But I don't. I say, wow, look what's possible for me as a human. I am empowered to create meaning. Look at Viktor Frankl, look at Peter Sage. So if you start looking at inspirational examples of how people have turned some of the hardest situations around in their life, then look at what's possible for you as well. And again, don't feel guilty, because guilt's just going to bring you down. Look at what's possible for you to change in terms of the meanings you're putting into things. So that's what I got for you today. I appreciate you for being here. You're improving other people's lives by working on yourself as a man. Remember, lead with your heart, not with fear.